Welcome everyone to Matt's Magic Detail Tech. I'm Matthew Gibb, 33 years detailing industry experience, 160 brands of detailing products used and tested, some for actually the manufacturers themselves, 120,000 hours of actual detailing and R&D testing experience, developer of the Pad King brand of revolutionary polishing pads where we're pushing the boundaries of pad design and technology, bringing you some new materials that have never been seen before, superior foams that don't soften too much, and designs that eliminate Velcro premature failure and obviously pad softening too much. Now, what I want to do today in this video is basically respond to Ivan and Nick's DIY detail 11 reasons why you're taking too long to polish paint. And what I'm going to be doing is sharing my stance or my view or opinion on what Ivan and Nick have stated, not belittling them, not being negative, not disrespecting them and saying they're wrong at any point, literally sharing another expert point of view. As I've been around the industry since 1993, I'm internationally renowned. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world. I'm never going to say that, never going to be like that. I'm a humble guy, just always doing my thing, always seeing myself as just a sponge that has absorbed a lot of knowledge and is willing to share it out to you to help you out. I'm here to benefit the industry, not knock it down, to raise it up. Now, I simply want to basically respond by giving you my view and stance and opinion on all the 11 points that they've raised, and then taking it beyond what they've said. Not saying that they're wrong or I'm always right, but sharing my experience and why I believe that some things he stated may be true, but there's certain situations where actually doing something else is better, or there's more to the story. So let's get into number one, following a polishing system. It's great to have one brand of polishers, but my mentor, a former mentor, was basically the director of a multinational chemical company that made the first ever System 1 polish along with Tom Horvath, and a one product correction system. I've used that since 2009. I've used dozens and dozens of other brands of compounds polishers as well. Used a lot of things, and getting one system like the DIY system is a great system. The gold standard polish is a spray polish. I've used spray polishes before. I actually have one here, which is pretty much not as runny as it used to be. There was a version that was basically like milk. But basically, I have used spray polishes for a long time. I love them. I think they're a great thing. I don't like thick, dry pastes. I like creamy or runny ones. But anyway, following a system. It's great to have one brand and have their ABC, like strong, weak, strong, medium, and light product, or, a one product correction system and maybe a finishing polish. But one thing Bruce Lee being my idol, and Nikola Tesla being another, Bruce Lee always said, rehearsed routines lack the flexibility to adapt. That's very true, but within detailing, if Bruce Lee was a detailer, he would say, using one system gives you the ability to adapt to some degree, but you can't adapt as much as sometimes you need to. One thing I'm renowned for is my knowledge of pad technology, but also how to adapt when things don't work. So by all means, have a system. It could be Kosh Chemie with a H9F6M3. It could be the DIY gold standard polishing compound, which 2 is a great number. 2 or 3 is more than enough. There are a lot of European polishing systems that actually have 5 or 6 different grades of product. Way too many, in my opinion. That's so 1990s, 2000s. There may be a situation for 2 or 3, 5, 6 is overkill. I recommend having one single product correction system, and then having a finishing polish, and then maybe one compound that's very, very strong, or a leveling compound that you might need occasionally, depending on what kind of work you're doing. So always get what you need, and the main thing also is, with every single detailing product, but especially polishers, work out the characteristics that you like with those. What do you like? I like creamy, runny polishes that film really nicely, keep a nice moist film on the surface and under the pad, lubricates the foam or the fibers, allows the abrasive to keep working so it can work more efficiently. It doesn't go dry, dusty and powdery and clump up and clog all the fibers up and then kill the ability for the abrasive to work. That's what I like. Other people like stuff that's drier. Some people that like stuff that's really slimy or greasy. I don't like slimy or greasy. I like the perfect balance of a watery and oily lubricating film and it stays that way. It doesn't just dry up and go powdery real quick. So have a system, but have another option, a B option. It could be another particular brand's whole line of 1 or 2 products or 3, or it could be just one product from this brand and a couple of products from another brand. Because the one thing my mentor taught me, who was the multinational director of a multinational chemical company that made the original System 1, along with Tom Horvath, which is the one product system, said, with every polish in the world, probably all of them will work on 80% of cars out there. If that's what they get, that's a great thing. Nothing will ever work on everything. Maybe one day we'll find one, but really most often one product or one brand of product range will not work on everything. Sonic's Perfect Finish is probably one of the most versatile that can do a lot, but it is a diminishing abrasive, non-diminishing being the latest technology, or a combination of non-diminishing and diminishing is the latest technology, pretty much. So look, have a system, but don't lock yourself into something where, you know, if that doesn't work, you're buggered. Definitely have a system, follow it, and really master those, use them well, and only change brand of product if it's doing certain things that are negative, that you don't like, or if something comes out, you try it and it just is so much better, like it films better, it stays moist for longer, or it just gives you a bit extra, a few points extra gloss, or some kind of benefit. Read the safety data sheets, look at the hazardous ingredients, even if those safety data sheets can be quite vague, and actually from there work out whether you buy it or you don't. And then always keep trying something new every now and then go from there. But definitely DIY is a great system. Start with that, have your gold standard polish compound, but maybe have CSI, Clear Coat Solutions Ceramic X or XX there, which you can use all the way through with the one product, and it can annihilate sanding marks like you wouldn't believe if you need to be doing that sort of work. And maybe have somebody else's finishing polish. I love using 3D1, 3D 520, sometimes 510, but I also really like mixing P&S Therapy, the new one. It's a really, really, really high quality product that films exactly how I like it. Point number 2 from Ivan at DIY Detail, pad size. The larger the pad, the more surface area there is. That is absolutely correct. And with fiber pads, surface area is what it's all about. The more fibers you have per square inch, the more densely packed they are, the better it is for cutting. You've got more surface area, more cut. With a one caveat to that, to some degree, and I'm not saying he's wrong, he's not wrong, he's right, is that with a DA machine, a smaller pad is more aggressive on that tool, to some degree. With a rotary, a larger pad is better, you know, it's more aggressive. However, what is the actual gain that you get from the smaller pad on a DA, like a 3-inch, 2-inch, 1-inch, right? But then what do you lose because the surface area is less? Does it just balance itself out to where a 3, a 5 and a 6 cuts pretty much the same, and that's it? Maybe there is some minor gain to be made from a smaller pad on DA because it is more aggressive, even though the surface area is less. One thing about pads too you can do, you can change the face profile to give it more or less aggression. There are ways you can do that. So we have, I have, and I am currently testing a variety of my green all-rounder pads that have, and I'm trying every face profile you can imagine to basically see, does any of this stuff make any difference? In most cases, a lot of it doesn't. But if I can find just one that gives it more cut or a better finish or prevents holograms or something, that'd be great. Now, in most cases, I reckon out of all the face profile testing I do, I reckon out of probably 20, 30 or 40 different profiles I try on the face, maybe one will work, maybe 2. But that's what the whole point of R&D. I'm just trying everything. So this one definitely does give 3 to 5 degrees less temperature than a flat pad. So with pad size again, okay, larger pad, more surface area. However, if you go beyond 6-inch with a DA, the pad weight increases, especially with my Super Series pads or your sandwich pads. They're obviously a little bit heavier than what a standard sort of Velcro and foam only pad is. So what is the actual gain and loss of going smaller pad, okay, it's more aggressive technically, but then I've lost a bit of surface area. Maybe it all works out. But at the end of the day, I like using 3-inch, 5-inch and 6-inch pads, occasionally 7. On a big flat area, I'll use an 8-inch on a rotary, for example. But as a professional detailer, doing gloss enhancements, duo gloss, tri-gloss, or one-step corrections, 2-stage, 3-stage corrections on the right paints that are thick enough, having everything from 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 inches and all the different backing plates that you need for rotary, thin, thick, softer, firmer, and all that gives you the level of precision that somebody who uses 1 or 2 sizes of pads, besides maybe Ivan and a few other people at his level, could actually achieve. Can you go around everywhere and use a 5 or 6-inch pad, 7-inch pad? Yeah, you pretty much can do a whole car with that. I started out in 93 doing 94, doing basically 7-inch, 8-inch pads on a whole car. But now, with cars having so many sharp body lines and edges, I like to have a pad that fits within the bottom and the top edge of that area. Now that might seem like me being overly cautious, but after burning through paint on 6 cars out of my thousands I did, I can tell you it's not a nice experience, and it's something I would rather use a smaller pad and take a little bit longer, perhaps, to do that area, but do it precisely, than just go, I'm just going to 6-inch friggin' everything. So he's not wrong, I'm not wrong. Do it however you find works best for you. But I must admit, if you get any DA 3-inch pad with a 14mm, 12mm, 16, 18mm bigger orbit, I've got a 12 and a 14. The 14mm one is pneumatic and goes to 10,000 RPM. It is an absolute weapon. So 3-inch pad in the right 3-inch sized area, so top of the doors, B-pillars, you can get some serious correction and also some seriously high gloss, especially if you use a pad exactly the same size as the plate. Polishing with the wrong tool. Force rotation machines. I know that Ivan doesn't really like them, and I like them quite a lot, but I know they have some weaknesses, and for a long time there's been some serious flaws with the machines, and no one's really pushed the boundaries of force rotation machines and made them better. So I agree with Ivan, in most cases, yes, they are tiring, cumbersome, they're loud, and here are the actual weaknesses with force rotation machines that I don't like, or their flaws currently. And maybe Rennie Doyle's DB8 Dynabrade force rotation machine, which I'm buying soon, has fixed some of these issues, or all of them. We shall see. Firstly, the main weakness is you need to use very high machine speed to get cut out of it. Yes, they can cut, they can really cut, and they can give you a really high gloss as well, and they're great for doing a more transformative gloss enhancement than you might get with a random orbital if the paint is quite hammered. And if someone has got a car that needs a 2-stage, but they only want to pay for gloss enhancement, get a force rotation machine out and use that. It will make a difference to the overall cut you get and also the gloss. Of course, a 25mm orbit DA should in theory outdo it, but it's funny how, depending on the shape of the car and what the panel shapes are like and the sizes, force rotation might actually do it better. And you know what? There are times where I've done force rotation gloss enhancements and it was definitely better in terms of cut and gloss than what I got out of a 15 or a 21mm DA. Their shorter orbit is also a bit of an issue. Obviously, the shorter the orbit, the better the finish with those, I believe. I could be wrong about that, not sure. But I've seen really great results from 3mm, 5mm, but also 6.8 and 8s as well. So their shorter orbit means that they can get into places that a large orbit 25mm orbit DA can't, potentially. The main problem is that most of them spun to the left, which I don't like. 2, they fight you. Almost every machine out there, except for the Makita BO6050 and from my initial testing, the DB8, they fight you. When you're trying to make the machine go left, it's actually wanting to go up. You go right, it wants to go down, and then vice versa. It's always wanting to steer you where you don't want it to go, and it's hard work. The Makita BO6050 doesn't do that, but it lacks the power to do serious correction work. The other thing, you've got to use really high machine speed to get cut out of them in most cases, and so they're pretty much useless at speed 1 to 3 unless you're trying to finish down. And also the other thing, pretty much impossible to use a pad washer with a force rotation machine because they just don't spin fast enough. They don't rotate fast enough to actually get the pad much less damp than what a DA will. A DA machine or a rotary can definitely get a lot of the water out and get the pad just nice and lightly damp. Forced, it's just a nightmare. So you're better off using a spray of liquid, rub the pad, blow it with compressed air on angle, and not even bother with a pad washer. What we need in this industry is what I call my UFO concept, I've had this since 2012, this idea called Ultimate Forced Orbital. So it's a forced rotation machine with a certain orbit size. It could be 6 mil, it could be 8 mil, it could be 10 mil. It could even be 12. Now, how aggressive that is and how much heat that might generate could be a problem. Maybe not be very balanced, but you know, between 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10. But it also would have a large orbit random orbital mode with it. So it's basically evolving dual mode polishers from just being a random orbital mode with a sanding pad brake in it so you can sand with it, and then basically a forced rotation light to moderate duty polishing mode. So what it would be is random orbital with probably, you know, 18 millimeter orbit, 20, 21, maybe bigger. Flick the switch like you do with the Makita machines. Go to forced rotation. It changes it back to 6, 7, 8, 10 mil, and you can do forced rotation. So it'd be like having a Rupes Mark III or a HLR polisher or a Liquid Elements DA polisher with a flex forced rotation machine in the one tool. That's what this industry needs. That's what the biggest gap in the marketplace with polishers is. I've been trying to get these made for a decade and a half. Nobody seems to want to listen. So there it is. Anyone who wants to run with it, you can do what you like with it. You can sell it. I don't care. As long as it gets made for the industry, that's all I care about. If it even is possible to do. So forced rotation machines are good. They have their place. But yes, until we have a machine which is forced and random, spins to the right, and actually you can use it at speed 2, 3, 4 and not have to worry about going speed 6 to correct all the time, and it's actually smooth and balanced. Forced rotation machines, get one if you really want to and you're really serious about it, but if you're a hobbyist or a pro doing one steps and gloss enhancements, I would maybe get one, but not absolutely critical. Okay, DA versus rotary polishing. Ivan has mentioned for a long time now that DA cuts better than a rotary and then use rotary to finish. I totally agree with him when it comes to finishing with a rotary. There is nothing better. I've done it 400 times out of the thousands of cars I've done. Whenever I had issues where it just wouldn't finish hologram free, I've just gone, okay, last step DA, no worries. And I've noticed that in some cases, or many cases, you get a bit of a drop off in color richness and also clarity from that, from using the DA. But there are times where the DA does a great job and it doesn't really make much difference. But here's a caveat to that. I've seen, from my experience, many times, and to train people on this and actually tried to do it, when you've got paint on a car that has an appearance like a frosted glass window or a glass door that's frosted looking, and it's really opaque and you just can't see much clarity, it's almost like frosted over. For whatever reason, you can hit it with a DA of any orbit size as hard as you like. It will remove the swirl marks and maybe the light scratches and all that, and improve it. But it just doesn't get rid of that frosting very good. Whereas if you get a rotary with a wool pad, by afterburner pad, something very aggressive, even a very, very, very aggressive foam like my Frostbite with very large cells that feel like razor blades, just about, you can take out that frosted look real quickly and then polish it up, and literally within 2 minutes using just wool and foam in a section, say, this sort of height, maybe like 2 by 2, 3 by 3 foot area, in 2 minutes I've hit a Mitsubishi Pajero with basically orange peel that looked like dry spray almost, or dinosaur peel, or dinosaur skin, and made it look like I'd taken half the peel out, half the orange peel out literally in 2 minutes and glossed it up to a high gloss red, where even though I didn't actually remove any peel, because the rotary can it just laser sharpens or laser shines the paint. The DA just can't do that. So if you've got frosted glass looking paint, the rotary first is the best option. With the rotary versus DA debate that has been going on for a long time, I've written a blog about this that's quite extensive and basically sharing my experience. It's very long, but if you're very keen to read about it and learn a lot about DA versus rotary and what I like rotary for and what I like DA for, because I'm a fan of both, go to thepadking.com.au/blog. It's also got a bunch of links to my podcast that I've done. I've done 21 podcasts with a bunch of American and one Australian show, and the Rag Company as well have had me on there in the past. There's a lot of helpful information on there, and read that blog post, and that will help settle the score pretty much when it comes to DA versus rotary.